Deep in the isolated wilderness of Alaska, there exists a forgotten tribe shrouded in mystery. This tribe is known for their gruesome appearance, almost human, but with haunting differences that set them apart. Their bodies possess strange features, webbed hands with claw-like fingers and mouths filled with razor-sharp teeth. Legends say these cannibalistic beings dwell in dark, cold caverns, hidden away from the eyes of the world. Around ancient fires they gather, their hollow eyes dancing with the light as they consume the flesh of the unfortunate. The tribe conducts rituals that send chills down the spine. Their chants echo amid the endless night. Encounters with these beings are rare, as most who stumble upon them never return to tell their tale. Their existence remains a terrifying enigma, hidden away in the desolate expanse of the Alaskan wilderness.
Did you know Abraham Lincoln is in the Wrestling Hall of Fame? The 64-inches president had only one loss among his around 300 contests. He earned a reputation for this in New Salem, Illinois, as an elite fighter.
Eleanor of Aquitaine was no ordinary queen. She was a force to be reckoned with, a woman who defied the expectations of her time and stood up to kings. Born into one of the most powerful families in Europe, Eleanor became the Duchess of Aquitaine in her own right, making her one of the wealthiest and most influential women of the 12th century. Her life took a dramatic turn when she married King Louis VII of France, becoming Queen of France. However, Eleanor was not content to play a passive role. She accompanied Louis on the Second Crusade, demonstrating her strength and determination. Despite their powerful union, the marriage was annulled, partly due to Eleanor's failure to produce a male heir, but also because of their growing differences. Eleanor's story didn't end there. Soon after, she married Henry II of England, bringing her vast lands of Aquitaine under English control. As Queen of England, Eleanor wielded considerable power and was instrumental in the administration of the kingdom. However, her relationship with Henry soured, leading to one of the most famous acts of defiance in medieval history. Eleanor supported her sons in a revolt against their father. For this, she was imprisoned for over a decade.
After completing his second term as the first president of the United States, George Washington retired to his beloved estate, Mount Vernon, in 1797. While Washington was known primarily as a statesman and military leader, his post-presidential years saw him venture into an unexpected and highly successful business, whiskey distillation. Encouraged by his Scottish farm manager, James Anderson, Washington established a distillery on his plantation. Anderson, who had experience in distilling, convinced Washington that whiskey production could be a lucrative addition to his agricultural operations. By 1799, the Mount Vernon distillery had grown to be one of the largest in the country, producing an impressive 11,000 gallons of unaged whiskey annually. Washington's distillery was not just a small operation. It employed skilled laborers and utilized advanced techniques for the time. The whiskey was sold both locally and to distant markets, contributing significantly to Washington's wealth in his later years. Washington's foray into whiskey production reveals his adaptability and keen business sense, showcasing a lesser-known but fascinating aspect of his life after the presidency. On June 18, 1815, two of history's greatest military minds met on the battlefield of Waterloo. Napoleon Bonaparte, the French emperor, and the Duke of Wellington, leader of the British forces. Napoleon, renowned for his brilliance in warfare, returned from exile with ambitions to reclaim his empire. Wellington, a cool and disciplined strategist, was determined to stop him. The battlefield, chosen by Wellington for its defensive advantages, was soaked from the night's rain, delaying Napoleon's attack and giving the British crucial time to prepare. The battle was intense, with Napoleon throwing wave after wave of troops at Wellington's lines, particularly targeting key positions like La Haye Sainte. Despite fierce assaults, Wellington's forces held their ground. He knew his survival depended on one thing: waiting for the arrival of the Prussian army led by Marshal Blucher. With Wellington's forces pressing forward and the Prussians arriving, the French lines crumbled. Waterloo marked the end of an era, with Wellington's victory sealing Napoleon's fate and reshaping Europe's future.
For nearly 3 decades, the Berlin Wall stood as a symbol of division between East and West Berlin. Constructed in 1961 by the German Democratic Republic, it was meant to halt the mass defections from East to west. Families were separated, lives were torn apart, and freedom seemed a distant dream for many. But change was on the horizon as peaceful protests began to surge in 1989. On November 9, 1989, an announcement lifted the Iron Curtain, allowing free passage between East and West. Citizens from both sides celebrated, tearing down the wall with their own hands, piece by piece. The fall of the Berlin Wall marked the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter of unity and freedom. In 1386, a bizarre and now almost unbelievable event took place in France. A pig was put on trial and executed. During the Middle Ages, this pig had attacked a child who later died from the injuries. In a time when animals were sometimes subject to the same laws as humans, this pig was arrested and held in prison just like any other criminal. The pig was brought before a court where it stood trial for murder. The legal proceedings were taken seriously, with the pig being assigned a defense attorney and a full trial taking place. Ultimately, the pig was found guilty of the crime and sentenced to death. The execution was carried out by hanging, just as it would have been for a human found guilty of such a crime. This peculiar event highlights the strange and superstitious nature of medieval justice, where animals were sometimes held accountable for their actions in the same way as people. Cleopatra wasn't actually Egyptian. As far as historians can tell, Egypt's famous femme fatale was actually Greek. She was a descendant of Alexander the Great's Macedonian general Ptolemy. Ptolemy was one of Alexander's trusted companions and generals. Cleopatra's forebears ruled Egypt but remained culturally Greek. She was renowned for her intellect and political savvy. Cleopatra's legacy continues to fascinate us to this day. Pompeii was once a thriving ancient Roman city near the Bay of Naples. Its inhabitants enjoyed a rich daily life, complete with luxurious homes and vibrant markets. But in 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius erupted with little warning. The eruption buried Pompeii under a thick layer of volcanic ash, preserving it in a moment of time. Centuries later, excavations unearthed the city's remarkably preserved ruins. Artifacts provide invaluable insights into the lives of ancient Romans. Today, the ruins of Pompeii stand as a poignant reminder of nature's power and ancient human life.
Ever wondered how ancient Greeks kept clean? Let's dive in. While some used sponges, most relied on stones for hygiene. Did you know athletes sold their sweat as a remedy? Crazy, right? People believed it eased aches and pains. Spoiler, it probably didn't. But it wasn't all fun. Slaves faced harsh realities like infibulation. This painful practice sealed them shut, making life even tougher. Ancient Greece had its quirks. What do you think about this?
The Bloody Mary, a staple of brunch menus worldwide, wasn't always known by its now famous name. This iconic cocktail, known for its bold mix of vodka, tomato juice, and spices, originally went by a far more gruesome title, a bucket of blood. The name was likely a nod to the drink's deep red color, but it certainly wasn't the most appealing moniker for a cocktail. As the drink evolved and gained popularity, its name changed as well. After a bucket of blood, the cocktail was renamed Red Snapper, a name that hinted at its sharp and spicy flavor profile. However, this name didn't stick for long, and the drink eventually became known as the Bloody Mary, the name we all recognize today. The final name is thought to be a reference to either Queen Mary I of England, who was notorious for her bloody reign, or a nod to a waitress named Mary who worked at the Bucket of Blood bar. Whatever its origins, the Bloody Mary has become a beloved classic, far removed from its initial, much less appetizing name. In the heart of ancient Rome, the spectacle of gladiatorial combat was a thrilling form of entertainment. While male gladiators were common, female gladiators, known as gladiatresses, were incredibly rare. These fierce women captivated the audience with their bravery and combat skills. Training for a gladiatrix was rigorous, demanding both physical strength and mental fortitude. Despite their limited numbers, gladiatresses were a topic of great interest among Roman nobles. Before the fight, the tension was palpable as these warriors prepared for the ultimate test. Today, artifacts and historical records help us remember the bravery of these extraordinary women. Their legacy lives on, a testament to their courage and resilience in the brutal arenas of ancient Rome.
During the Great Depression, resourcefulness became a necessity, leading to a unique trend in clothing. With money scarce and fabric hard to come by, people began making clothes out of food sacks. Flour bags, potato sacks, and anything made from burlap were repurposed into dresses, shirts, and other garments. What started as a desperate measure soon turned into a widespread practice. As food distributors noticed this trend, they decided to help by making their sacks more colorful and decorative. They began printing vibrant patterns and designs on the sacks, allowing people to create clothing that was not only functional but also a bit fashionable. This small gesture brought a touch of dignity and creativity to the challenging lives of many during that era. This innovative use of everyday materials is a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of people facing hard times, showing how even in the toughest situations, a bit of creativity can make life just a little brighter.
In 1932, Australia faced an unexpected foe: emus. After World War I, Australian soldiers were given farmland, but they soon found themselves overrun by tens of thousands of emus that migrated inland. The emus destroyed crops, so the government declared war on the birds. Armed with machine guns, soldiers tried to cull the emu population. But the emus were surprisingly crafty, dodging bullets and outrunning the soldiers. After several failed attempts and wasted ammunition, the government admitted defeat. The emus had won. This strange chapter in history became known as the Great Emu War, a quirky reminder that sometimes, even with all the firepower, nature has the upper hand. In 1923, the small town of Burlington, Iowa, found itself in a bit of a pickle, literally. A huge jar of pickles, weighing over a ton, was sent to the town as part of a quirky publicity stunt by a local pickle company. The idea was to get the town's mayor to open the giant jar in front of a crowd, but there was just one problem. Nobody could figure out how to open it. The jar was so enormous and tightly sealed that it took several hours, numerous tools, and a lot of elbow grease to finally pop it open. When they finally managed to do it, the crowd cheered as if they had just witnessed a great victory. And what did the town do with all those pickles? They hosted the biggest pickle-eating contest Burlington had ever seen. It was a day that went down in history as the Great Pickle Fiasco and became a hilarious legend that the locals still talk about today. Imagine waking up to a world where the air is so thick with pollution that you can barely see your own hand in front of you. This was the reality for Londoners in December 1952 during the Great Smog, a catastrophic event that would forever change environmental policy. The smog was a result of a perfect storm, a cold weather front, high-pressure systems, and the burning of coal for heating. The city, still recovering from World War II, relied heavily on coal-burning power plants and domestic fires, leading to a toxic cocktail of smoke and fog. For 5 days from December 5th to 9th, 1952, the smog lingered, causing chaos as transportation ground to a halt and visibility dropped to a few feet. Tragically, this environmental disaster claimed the lives of thousands, with estimates around 12,000 deaths attributed to respiratory and cardiovascular issues exacerbated by the polluted air. The Great Smog prompted the British government to take decisive action, leading to the Clean Air Act of 1956, which aimed to reduce air pollution in urban areas. This event serves as a grim reminder of the consequences of neglecting environmental health and the importance of sustainable practices today. Imagine waking up. Richard the Lionheart is often remembered as one of the most badass kings in England's history. Known for his incredible bravery and military prowess, Richard I, as he was officially titled, earned the nickname Lionheart because of his fearlessness and warrior spirit. Richard ascended to the throne in 1189, but unlike most kings, he spent very little time in England during his reign. Instead, he was constantly on the battlefield, leading his troops in the Third Crusade, where he fought against the famous Muslim leader, Saladin. Richard's reputation as a fearless and formidable warrior spread far and wide, and he became a legendary figure in both European and Middle Eastern history. Despite being king, Richard was more interested in combat than in ruling. He was known to lead his men from the front, participating directly in battles and skirmishes. His leadership and military skill were unmatched, and he was highly respected by both his allies and enemies. Richard's legacy as the Lionheart continues to be celebrated, symbolizing the ideal of the courageous, chivalrous warrior king.
The world's most successful pirate in history was a lady named Qing Shi. She was a prostitute in China until the commander of the Red Flag Fleet bought and married her. But her husband considered her his equal, and she became an active pirate commander in the fleet. With her leadership, the Red Flag Fleet grew to over 300 ships and 20,000 pirates. She controlled the waters from the South China Sea to the coast of Vietnam and Korea. She was known for her strict code of law and brutal enforcement. Qing Shi retired in her later years with great wealth and lived to see old age. Her legacy remains one of the greatest pirate stories ever told.
Ever wondered how Mary, Queen of Scots, met her tragic end? Mary was imprisoned for 19 years, plotting her escape. Her execution was planned to be swift and dignified. But on the day, things went horribly wrong. The executioner fumbled, leading to a gruesome spectacle. Mary's final moments were filled with courage and defiance. Her legacy lives on, a tale of tragedy and intrigue.
President Zachary Taylor's death in 1850 has long been the subject of intrigue and speculation, with one of the most curious theories being that he died from a cherry overdose. On July 4th of that year, Taylor attended a holiday celebration where he indulged in a large quantity of cherries and washed them down with cold milk. Shortly after, he fell seriously ill with severe gastroenteritis, which led to his untimely death just 5 days later on July 9th. The prevailing theory is that the combination of the cherry's acidic content and the milk caused a fatal digestive issue. While medical science has evolved since then, and we now know that such a combination is unlikely to be deadly by today's standards, the incident highlights the limited medical understanding of the time. Taylor's sudden death led to widespread rumors and even conspiracy theories, with some suggesting he was poisoned. However, modern forensic analysis has largely debunked this, leaving the unusual story of a cherry overdose as the most enduring explanation. This strange chapter in American history reminds us of the fragility of life and the sometimes bizarre ways in which history unfolds. The mystery of the lost colony of Roanoke is one of the oldest and most enduring mysteries in American history. In 1587, a group of over 100 English settlers led by John White established a colony on Roanoke Island, off the coast of what is now North Carolina. White returned to England later that year to gather supplies, but his return to Roanoke was delayed by war with Spain. When he finally made it back in 1590, the colony had vanished without a trace. The only clue left behind was the word Croatoan, carved into a wooden post and the letters Crow etched into a tree. Some theories suggest they were absorbed into local Native American tribes, while others believe they tried to sail back to England and were lost at sea. The true fate of the Roanoke colonists remains a mystery, making it one of the most intriguing and unsolved puzzles in early American history.
The tragic story of Medusa and Poseidon begins in the sacred temple of Athena. Medusa, once a stunning maiden with golden hair, was a priestess dedicated to serving Athena. Poseidon, the god of the sea, was captivated by Medusa's beauty and desire. In a moment of passion, Poseidon pursued Medusa within the holy confines of the temple. Athena, enraged by the desecration of her temple, decided to punish Medusa. She transformed Medusa into a gorgon, with snakes for hair and a gaze that turned men to stone. Cursed and exiled, Medusa lived out her days in isolation, a tragic figure in Greek mythology.
During the infamous Salem witch trials of 1692, a dark chapter in American history, the fear of witchcraft led to widespread hysteria and the persecution of many innocent people. Contrary to popular belief, however, none of the accused witches in Salem were burned at the stake. In Salem, the accused were subjected to harsh imprisonment, intense interrogation, and in some cases brutal trials. Out of the 2,000 people accused, most were jailed under terrible conditions, awaiting their fate. Ultimately, 19 people were hanged, and one man, Giles Corey, was pressed to death with heavy stones for refusing to enter a plea. But none of the accused were burned alive, as is often mistakenly thought. The Salem witch trials stand as a stark reminder of the dangers of mass hysteria and the importance of due process. Though many lives were tragically lost, the true story reveals a more complex and sobering reality than the sensationalized tales of witches being burned at the stake. During World War II, a Great Dane named Juliana became a hero. Juliana was awarded the Blue Cross Medal for her incredible bravery. She extinguished an incendiary bomb by peeing on it. In doing so, she saved her home and possibly many lives. For her act of bravery, Juliana was awarded the prestigious Blue Cross Medal. She became a local legend and a beacon of courage. Her story remains a touching reminder of the bravery found in the most unexpected places. Don't forget to share this incredible story of Juliana, the heroic Great Dane.
In the early 20th century, a fierce battle was waged in Britain as women fought for the right to vote. Among the most notable figures was Emmeline Pankhurst, who founded the Women's Social and Political Union in 1903. This group employed bold tactics, including marches and hunger strikes, to draw attention to their cause. The suffragettes faced fierce opposition, often being arrested and treated harshly. Their efforts culminated in the Representation of the People Act, 1918, which granted voting rights to women over the age of 30. This milestone was a testament to their relentless spirit and determination, paving the way for future generations to fight for equality and justice.